Mach's voice is in that instrument register, so much so that he meshes completely with the beat. Subscribe. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Knxwledge. Welcome to Brews and Reviews, and today I'm reviewing Mach-Hommy's magnum opus H.B.O, Haitian body odor, and I am sipping on an Abita Brewing Company Mardi Gras. That's a 6.5% Bach coming in from Abita Springs, Louisiana. Let's get into this classic. Mach-Hommy HBO on streaming services at last, and thank God, as one of these titles suggests, because this is what many consider Mach-Hommy's best album. I gotta say that Pray for Haiti is my #1 album of the year so far, so this is very important that I do this one. In fact, it's so important that this is only the second project that I've done that wasn't released within the year. T. Gerald D, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. There's a lot of Creole mixed in here. I might mess some of it up, but this is a psychedelic rock sample courtesy of producer August Fanon, who produces most of the beats on this project, and this sound goes so well with Mach-Hommy's razor voice, and I like how he's so different that even on this, what many consider his best album, that he starts it off by starting his verse in the middle of a measure and just raw abstract bars over these guitars. And I like how lo-fi his mic is too. It reminds me of some old school classic Wu-Tang, the way that he recorded this. At the end, we get a clip from an interview, the first of many, about Michelle Benet, who the album is centered around. She's on the cover. She was the first lady of Haiti from 1980 to 1986, and she was known for her excess, for her abundance, for her lavish lifestyle, and that's something that Mach-Hommy is hinting on throughout the album, criticizing in a way, in the way the people of Haiti perceived it, but also drawing a parallel to himself and her opulence. She did so much, as we'll hear in later samples on the album. She even bought expensive fur coats and then had freezer rooms in the warm temperature of Haiti just so she could wear her fur coats. Tunnel vision. This track makes it even more clear that he was already equipped with the elements that made Pray for Haiti so popular and so likable, and that is him switching to Haitian Creole, talking about Haiti so much in his rhymes, switching back and forth into some light harmonizing, and just ultimately mixing his voice with the beat. But this is all much more raw than we got on Pray for Haiti, so much so that this is the first instance of his Python trenchcoat line. 1080p, incredible chill beat from August Fanon, and it's these abstract, meaningful lyrics is the reason why people love Mach. He says, collecting skets, putting dog shit in hollows, I'm fresh to death. Etch a sketch, yep, chalk wash away with raindrops, it's nothing left. And shedding light on the title, at the time that this album dropped, 1080p was the best quality you could watch something on, and as Mach says in the chorus, he has to watch his front, back, and side. Plenty, one of the crazier beats that's also a highlight of the Griselda catalog, particularly from this era. Great beat, and Mach goes hard on verse 2, displaying more of his lyrical skill. He says, madman, all hope abandoned, ye who entered through the velvet rope or dope are paying, man. Your weakness proceeds your hand when opposable thumb can only separate from drum patterning. He's kicking some biblical lines and also an allusion to Dante's Inferno, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. And he even works in a nice woo metaphor at the end. He says, come through the chambers then. I be chillin' in 32 with 4 more left to get my banger in. 4 plus 32 is 36 chambers, y'all. Bay 6, we get insight into the title of the album, coupled with a nice Gangstar reference. He says, money growing like grass with the mass appeal. I got HBO, Haitian body odor, and it smell like dough. And this is a really interesting dynamic because he is presenting Michelle Benet as a bad thing for Haiti because of her opulence, but at the same time showing himself in a way to go after wealth and abundance. And this is a complete old school beat, very fitting for the Gangstar reference that we already got, and also a reference to Don't Sweat the Technique by Eric B. and Rakim, a classic. Midnight Express, and Mach uses the features very sparingly, just like he did on Pray for Haiti. And this is actually the soul rap feature on this track, and that's Conway the Machine. And him being the only rap feature makes his verse stand out even more. At the same time, you can really hear how much Conway has grown since he recorded this back in 2016. Michelle Mabel, a reference to a Beatles song for one thing, but this is an interlude for the spoken word poet Keisha Plum, who appears on most Griselda projects, and she actually adds to this one in a way that we don't always hear her get to add to a project because she's shedding more light on Michelle Benet and the caricature of her. Mock Marcy, as the title suggests, this beat is provided by none other than underground rap hero Roc Marciano. Unfortunately, this is one of the weaker beats on the album, and we don't get a verse from the man himself, but Mach does it well. His vocals are panned somewhat strangely, but still somewhat interestingly to go back and forth between channels, which makes it even more dizzying to follow his storyline, which I think is actually the point. But the follow-up is very strong. We've got HBO, the title track, with Mach painting himself as the true underground heavyweight in the more popular group of Griselda when he says, I heard you kids avoid Mach like celery. Griselda got the buffalo wings, what the fuck you telling me? Snow Beach, we got a soul sample here, and this is actually Mach digging back and showing his 90s roots by referencing the Ralph Lauren Snow Beach line. Fresh off the boat, some hard lyrics here, and again references to 90s music from the Ice-T interview sample at the beginning, although Ice-T could really be considered an 80s artist, to the, of course, 90s reference to Wu-Tang, Can It Be All So Simple at the end, the God left message on my dresser, and even straight out saying bumping 94 Biggie. Fuck You, quite possibly my favorite song on this project, even with that title, and this is produced by someone who would go on from here to become recognized as one of the best producers in today's current hip-hop climate, and that is Camouflage Monk. And Mach is recounting his many women of many nationalities, and it's really like a tour of the world. Very impressive, Mach-Hommy, very impressive. He says, my Trini bitch was like, who dat? She big on the scenes. My Jewish bit was like, he got a lot of chutzpah. My Thai bitch think I'm Marley. She can't tell the difference between a Haitian and a Yardie. Trezetta Air Max, dope use of a Biggie sample over an almost contradictory jazz beat. And he pays another homage to a Biggie line later, while also drawing a parallel between himself and Michelle Benet for their fashion sense. He says, you bitches better suck a dick up. I fuck a brick up. Michelle and the new Miguel Cabero zip up. These are words from a Klansman. Griselda white hoodie on the curb in the Phantom. Bandana. This is really the most Griselda-type beat on the entire project, and you already know who it is before you look up the producer of this. It, of course, is Daringer, and we get a little sing-songy verse from Mach before pitching down his vocals to put forth a hard verse 2. Thank God, another chill beat, and it's so interesting how Mach's voice is just in that instrument register, so much so that he meshes completely with the beat, and he does it so well on this track. And this feels like he's really just the lead instrument within the beat itself. Capiche, to go with the Italian slang, we got a nice soprano sample before this track, and Mach is really on some dope thinker lyrics here, giving us both a reference to an R. Kelly track and a reference to an Outkast track. He says, Mr. T with the iced out thumb ring, the chicken and the dumpling, the remix to Ignition with the drum ting. We started and we finish what we want, King. Fronting will only get you 10% of nothing. You keep appealing to these ducklings. I bet they find you face down in the mainstream, floating. Trust me. Floating face down in the mainstream. That's some classic cast right there. Bloody Penthouse, we got another Daringer beat to close it out, and Mach says, Western Union got the plug. Ever since the earthquake, they waived the cost. Guess they computers got the bug. Ain't nothing cooler than a mark except a shooter I can trust. Drake and Future in the car, so what you do inside the club. I play G by F.R. all day. Shout out to Griselda by Fashion Rebels right here at the end. And then we get the Griselda tag for the first time on the album. This album is dope and raw. You get the feeling that Mach was given these cherry-picked Griselda beats, even though he didn't have anything planned or in mind at the time, and he just jumped in the booth shortly after hearing them to record these rhymes, speaking the stream of consciousness and the first thing that came to mind. At the same time, you can really hear how he was going for wider appeal on Pray for Haiti because it's much more accessible. And I know that there's a lot of HBO that I'm not really digesting, and that somebody from Haiti or more of a Haitian background could give me more of the context from a lot of what he's talking about. Nevertheless, I don't need to know everything that he's talking about to know that this is one of the best in the Griselda catalog, especially from that era. Highly recommended as one of Mach-Hommy's best. H.B.O. Check it out. Thank you for watching my review of H.B.O. by Mach-Hommy. If you like this, go ahead and hit like now and hit me up in the comments. If you didn't like it, also let me know why in the comments. I drop hip-hop and hops related content consistently, so until I see you next time, keep buzzing. Look at man, please subscribe.
If he's on his channel saying that somebody's album is better than mine, unsubscribe to him.
No, your album's the best, man.
There you go, subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe.